Basketball is back, finally. And I say finally like we weren't just watching the finals a month and a half ago, but what can I say? I'm selfish when it comes to the NBA. I need it 24/7. And to celebrate the return of our favorite sport, I thought I would do something a little bit fun, and that is give you my top 5 list for all things basketball. I'm talking top 5 teams, top 5 players, top 5 NBA rosters ever, and this one right here, my top 5 NBA Finals series of all time. So let's get into it. Kicking off my list is the matchup between the Cavs and the Warriors in the 2016 finals. Now, I know we all have our opinions on how this comeback happens, but at the end of the day, it happened. And it will go down as one of the best, if not the best, NBA comeback in finals history. I mean, the Warriors had 73 wins. They were the best regular season team of all time. They helped to revolutionize modern basketball, and not to mention, Steph Curry could not miss. So it was no surprise they were the favorites to win this series. They were definitely my favorite. Winning games 1 and 2 by a combined 48 points, all systems were a go in Oakland. But then things went back to Cleveland where the Cavs were able to secure a win in Game 3. But it was Game 4 where things really started to get interesting. Curry put on a show and dropped 38 points, securing the dubs with a 3-1 series lead. But it was that altercation between Draymond Green and LeBron James that would change the course of this series. Because it was that same altercation that then resulted in Draymond's suspension for Game 5. And it was in Game 5 that Kyrie Irving and LeBron both dropped 41 points. Yeah, individually, making it the first time it has ever happened in NBA Finals history. In Game 6, we got another 41-point performance from King James and an iconic trash talk moment between him and Curry, and we don't get a lot of those. You know Steph Curry's a nice guy. Which then forced a Game 7 where we know anything and everything is possible. Things went a lot slower in Game 7, but that is until the final 2 minutes. A missed layup from Irving, a fast break with Curry, a decent look from Iggy, and a crowd-silencing block from LeBron freaking James. Kevin Love would ultimately force Steph Curry to miss a shot, and the Cavs would go on to win the whole thing. But I mean, come on, that is movie-level basketball. Coming in at number 4 is a series that I've been able to enjoy time and time again. Shout out to NBA Classics. And that is the matchup between the Celtics and the Lakers in the 1984 finals. I have 2 names for you, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. It's safe to say this probably was one of the most anticipated, if not the most anticipated matchup of the 80s. These 2 teams had not seen each other in 15 years. So when they finally crossed paths for a finals appearance, it was prime time television. And it didn't disappoint. It went back and forth all series. And neither team ever scored under 100 points. The Lakers were fresh off 2 finals appearances and a championship win, and they took a 1-0 series lead quick. But the Boston Celtics fought back because they secured an overtime win of 124-121. And in Game 3, the Lakers took it right back and gave us the infamous Larry Bird quote, "They played like a bunch of sissies." Yeah, Celtics. He was talking about you. You played like a bunch of sissies. In Game 4, we got Kevin McHale's infamous clothesline on Kurt Rambis, a Bird Abdul-Jabbar altercation, a Cedric Maxwell choking sign, and ultimately, a Celtics win. I mean, this series, it lived up to the hype. Oh, in Game 5, they even played in Boston Garden with no AC. No big deal except it was a rumored 97 degrees. The series would ultimately go 7, but the real travesty here is that it didn't exist in the NBA Twitter era. I mean, could you imagine? To kick off my top 3, we're taking it back to 1993 for the matchup of the Phoenix Suns and the Chicago Bulls. Charles Barkley versus Michael Jordan. For me, this is probably the most competitive series of Jordan's first three-peat, because the Chicago Bulls had their lowest winning season of the early 90s with 57 wins. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns had the league best that year with 62. Plus, they had home court advantage, and it looked like they could finally be the team to dethrone the Chicago Bulls. Not to mention, Charles Barkley was MVP that year, dethroning and ending the streak of Michael Jordan, who had won it the previous 2 seasons. The Suns ultimately fought back, forcing a Game 6 where John Paxson hit that legendary wide open three with just seconds left on the clock. And as the legend tells us, as we all know, Jordan would go on to retire shortly after the season ended, which ultimately just adds to my fandom of why this is one of my favorite series of all time. Coming in at number 2, it's the series that gave us the greatest shot in NBA Finals history. Yeah, I said it. The greatest. It's the 2013 matchup between the Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs. Chris Bosh with the rebound, kicks it back out to Ray Allen. 5 seconds left on the clock. Three-pointer, shoots, bang, bang, bang. Listen, I know for a fact that series, that game, haunts the Spurs to this day. Greg Popovich, the fan base, they're also included in that. I mean, look, everybody hated the Miami Heat in the Big Three era. I know I did. They were fresh off a win against OKC the year before that, and they had a 66-win record that year. They looked like they had no signs of slowing down. That is until they came face-to-face with the San Antonio Spurs, who were well-coached and consistent. I mean, Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Tony Parker, a young Kawhi Leonard, and Danny Green, this team was stacked. Tony Parker hit a dagger with 5.2 seconds left on the clock in Miami, giving the Spurs an early series lead. Miami would then tie the series in Game 2 with a blowout win of 103-84. Game 3, the Spurs returned the favor, blowing Miami out 113-77, now leading 2-1. Now, if you see the pattern here, you know that in Game 4, Miami gave it right back to San Antonio, and now the series was tied. Back at San Antonio, the Spurs put on a show at home and took a 3-2 series lead, just one game from winning it all, and then the infamous headband game happened, and it went down as one of the greatest in NBA history. The teams were trading punches all game, but it was San Antonio's decision to guard the usual suspects in the last seconds of the game that gave Chris Bosh the opportunity to get the rebound, give it to Ray Allen, who then, hit the dagger. Miami would go on to win 103-100 in overtime, forcing a Game 7 where we know anything is possible, even for the underdogs. Can we call them underdogs? Listen, whatever you want to call them, they won the chip, and this series sits at number 2 simply because Ray Allen, Ray Allen, Ray Allen. We have finally reached the top of my list, and sitting at number 1 is the historic rivalry between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers, but this time in the 2010 NBA Finals. Kobe Bryant is my favorite basketball player of all time. He's the reason I fell in love with the game. So it's no surprise a series where the reigning champs, the Los Angeles Lakers, faced off against their longtime arch nemesis would be my favorite series of all time. Now, the Celtics did get the best of the Lakers back in 2008 in 6 games, but in true Kobe fashion, in true Mamba mentality fashion, Kobe and the Lakers would come back bigger, better, and more focused than ever. They would take a 2-1 series lead, and the Celtics, although narrowly making it happen, they were able to win Games 4 and 5. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where legends are made. The Lakers held Boston to just 67 points in Game 6, a far cry from the 38 points they lost by back in 2008. And Game 7, listen, we know this already, where anything can happen, it was ugly. Down 4 points with just 1 quarter left, the Lakers put on a 30-point fourth quarter show. Kobe wasn't great. He was 6 of 24 in the game, but that's why every Batman needs a Robin, because Pau Gasol had 19 points and 18 rebounds. But it was Meta World Peace, who, let's just call him Bat Boy, was the one who saved the day and almost cost the game at the same damn time. Up 3 points with a minute left, LA needed to secure this win, and quick. He was already 1 for 6 from behind the arc, but that didn't stop World Peace from taking it upon himself to take a completely contested shot with Kobe yelling for the ball in the background. I mean, you couldn't help but watch this with one eye open because there was no way this wasn't going to end in a disaster, right? Except he drains it. He actually makes the shot, and I still can't believe it to this day. Blows a kiss to the crowd, and just like that, Kobe Bryant becomes a 5-time world champion. I mean, come on. That's finals basketball. You couldn't have written a better script than that. We miss you, Kobe. The game is not the same without you. So there you have it, my top 5 NBA Finals series of all time. Let me know what your favorites are in the comments below, and make sure you keep a lookout for my next video because we're talking my top 5 NBA players ever. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for checking out this episode of All In with Ashley Nicole. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the new episodes. And while you're at it, check me out on social media and hit that follow because I post some pretty cool things on there that you won't see on YouTube.